Welcome back to the 1760 sessions, where we talk to the founders of building systems and impact. I'm Harry from 1760 Strategic AI, and today I'm joined by the fantastic Sylvie Beljanski, Vice President of the Beljanski Foundation, a not-for-profit research organization continuing the legacy of her father, Dr. Mirko Beljanski, pioneering natural, non-toxic approaches to cancer and chronic disease. Through research, education, and community events, the Beljanski Foundation is dedicated to making integrative medicine accessible and funding innovative science that restores hope. I've been fascinated by her story so far from the conversations we've had. Sylvie, thank you so much for joining us here.
Oh, thank you for having me.
No problem at all. It's my pleasure. As I just said, I've already spoken with Sylvie, and I found this particular journey she's been on highly interesting and, if all in all, fascinating. So I wanted to kick off with a question. What inspired you to start the Beljanski Foundation, essentially continuing your father's scientific legacy?
It was a feeling of rage. It was a feeling of injustice, which is something that resonates very strongly with me. I started the Beljanski Foundation, as you said, to carry on with my father's legacy, scientific legacy. I do not have a scientific background. I went to law school. I chose not to go to medical school, although it was a dream of my parents, because I grew up wanting to break with this family tradition of scientists. I have 5 generations of scientists behind me, and I wanted to do something else. I did not want to feel. I wanted freedom. But I grew up seeing how my parents were able to help a lot of people with cancer, and I saw that firsthand. So when the French government decided to destroy my father's work, life work, the man and the work, I felt that was not fair. It was not fair for my parents, obviously, but also it was not fair for all the people who had been helped and could continue to be helped if this knowledge wouldn't disappear. And I decided to stop my career as a lawyer. It was a very difficult choice, and personally, but I knew it was the right thing to do, and I never looked back. And I'm 30 years later, I am very grateful with this opportunity, which has been given to me to help people to make a difference. And today to speak to you, because if I was a lawyer, you would not ask me questions.
You'd be the one asking the questions. So that must have been very hard to break the norm and essentially not go into science and be a lawyer, but then also come back into the frame of things. So for listeners who don't know the story, who was Dr. Mirko Beljanski, and what discoveries did he make that shape your mission today?
So my father was a PhD in molecular biology. He was born in what is now Serbia. It was Yugoslavia at the time. He was born in the 20s. And he came to Paris to get his PhD at the Sorbonne in molecular biology, because at the time in the 50s there was no university, no university in Serbia for that level of scientists. So the rich students who had a fur coat were sent to Moscow, and the poor students who could not afford a fur coat were sent to Paris. And that's how my father arrived in Paris in the late 40s. And he immediately enrolled at the Sorbonne, and he learned French at the same time, and he was a very good student. And as soon as he got his PhD, he got the opportunity to join the Pasteur Institute and the CNRS, Center for National Scientific Research, which is a French equivalent of NIH, let's say.
Yeah.
And he spent his entire career there, but very quickly he had a very different view from the, let's say, French scientific establishment. Back in the 50s, 60s, the thing, of official way of thinking for scientists was that everything was genetic. They had just discovered Watson and Crick, the DNA, the beautiful double helix, and they felt that the genes were were going to be the solution for everything.
Yeah.
And they wanted to really spend a lot of money on developing everything genetic. And my father was one of the first scientists to say there is something else. Why is there an increasing number of cancer? If it was just genetic, it should be pretty stable. Why do we see more and more of them? That's already back in the 60s. It means there is something in our environment which is able to trigger eventually the genes and turn them on and create something different. And my father made also the observation that there is a fundamental difference between the DNA of healthy cells and the DNA of cancer cells. The DNA of healthy cells, you have the two strands of the DNA which are nicely interwoven. But when a cell turns cancerous, and he made the same observation whether you speak of plant, animals, humans, the two strands of the DNA are open, not kept well together. You have some big loops appearing here and there. And he made the observation that the larger the loops, the bigger the distortion, the increased the rate of synthesis of the DNA. So they duplicate more faster and faster and create those big tumors that are really the hallmark of cancer cells.
Okay.
So my father started with those observations, and then he created a test to test a number of molecules in our environment to see what was going to increase the rate of synthesis of cancer DNA, or who would have no effect on cancer DNA, or what could eventually inhibit the synthesis of cancer DNA. And that's how he found a number of plant extracts which are able to make the difference between cancer DNA and healthy DNA. So are selectively going to induce the death, which is called apoptosis scientifically, induce the death of cancer cells without any activity on healthy cells, because it will recognize cancer cells, recognize where you have this destabilized DNA, and exclusively destroy those cells. So now you are speaking of natural products that are going to destroy cancer cells wherever they are located. It doesn't matter, men, women, prostate, breast, ovarian, doesn't matter anymore. And no toxicity, no side effect on healthy cells.
Yeah.
So that was, kind of a revolution. We are
Hugely.
now in the 80s. My father published everything. He left a body actually of 133 peer-reviewed papers, and he got the following of a lot of French doctors who were, it was a kind of sure thing for them. It was working again and again on different kind of patients, and it was an easy protocol. They were giving basically the same thing to everybody, and they were never bothered with side effects. So the number of doctors was growing, the reputation of my father was growing, and now we are in the early 90s, and François Mitterrand, the French president, was diagnosed with advanced prostate cancer. So at the French White House, the Élysée, they called a surgeon who operates and said the cancer has spread everywhere. The president is not going to finish his second term. Terms were 7 years at the time. And we have to put the president on morphine, so it's not going to suffer, but that's the only thing we can do. But Mitterrand had a mistress who knew about good doctors who had good results with my father's products.
Yeah.
And that's how Mitterrand started to take the Beljanski products. And against all odds, and it's very visible because it's the president, and he starts to go to give press conferences and say, yeah, I'm looking fine, doing fine, and let's organize this summit, and let's sign this, and
Yeah.
let's sign that, and it takes the French establishment who was ready to grab power by storm. They were, and then the pharmaceutical companies suddenly something very visibly because it's the president is doing better than their drugs. I mean, it was allowed as long as Mitterrand was in power, and he was able to finish his second term. And but 9 months after Mitterrand finally passed away, they sent the army with machine guns, dogs, helicopter over the laboratory, and they sent they seized everything without any warrant. They seized everything. They destroyed as much as they could, and they told my father, "It's too late to take you before the judge. We'll do that tomorrow." That's not the normal French due process. You are supposed to take somebody when you make an arrest, directly to the judge. But instead, they told him, "You have to stay in the laboratory and we'll come back to pick you up tomorrow morning to go to see the judge." And they also came with a team covered with hazard mat, and they sprayed some toxic gas everywhere in the laboratory. And there was never any evidence, legal evidence in writing of spraying the laboratory. But I have several eyewitnesses who told me.
Yeah.
And 2 months later, my father was diagnosed with advanced cancer myeloid. And that was the beginning of the end. There was no laboratory. My father was very sick. And then, because I was a lawyer, I started to say, the only thing I can think of is taking care of my father's legal defense. And the more I was looking into this file, the more fishy it looked, the more nonsensical. It was not about bringing justice to anything. It was about destroying evidence. So eventually, I took the case to the European Court of Human Rights, and we won an unanimous case because the French government would not explain what they did and why they did it. They would rather lose the case rather than explaining themselves. And then quickly I realized my father died before seeing this legal win. And very quickly it felt like the most important was not a legal win, even though I was educated as a lawyer and it was my first reflex. The most important was the scientific legacy and being able to continue to make those products available for those who were in need. So my next move was to quit my career as a lawyer and start to find ways to make the products available. And also what I really wanted is to prove the efficacy of those products, that they were indeed working as my father and his team of doctors had reported, that it was not just something that would fade with time. And then there was no proof and no nothing. So I started the Beljanski non-for-profit organization, a foundation here in New York City. And because there was no longer any laboratory, I decided to create partnerships with independent academic institutions who would do the research with the products and different kind of cancer, different stages of cancer, and synergy with chemotherapy, and first confirm everything that my father had found. But the beauty is that we were able to go much further than what my father had been able to discover and document.
Such a fascinating story. The craziness in France, from realizing that it was probably more than just trying to make up for the French president dying, to then you decided to go do the detective work yourself, to you then winning the case, to you then starting the foundation. Truly, truly inspiring, Sylvie. I'm not going to lie. So when did you realize, what was that moment that you realized there was a gap between research, awareness and funding of the Beljanski Foundation and that you'd have to bridge it yourself?
Well, at the beginning, the idea of funding research was beyond beyond me. The
Yeah.
first thing I did was to organize a symposium in New York where I invited a number of French doctors who had been working closely with my father. I wanted them to know me, to know how committed I was to carry on. And I wanted to tell them, I'm going to need you because you know more about the products than I do. And I managed also to invite a handful of American doctors who were curious, open. It was 25 years ago. It was really the beginning of integrative medicine. And one came, Dr. Michael Schachter, who was very curious, open-minded, and he got really blown away by what he heard from his French colleagues. He had never heard about those plant extracts, and he had never heard of such good results
Yeah, yeah.
with natural medicine. So after a few days after the symposium, he told me, well, I have a patient with pancreatic cancer. The poor fellow is not doing well. Do you think I could give him some of your product, of your Paupean? I said, yes, of course. Let's give it a try. I was so excited. The first American doctor trying the products here in the States.
Yeah, yeah.
And then a few weeks later, he called me and he said, well, he's, the poor fellow is doing okay. So I think I am going to have to need more product and I'm going to try on other patients. And after a year and a half, Dr. Schachter told me, well, now I have enough good cases. I'm going to write a paper.
Yeah.
I was like, first American paper. And I had to speak about it to everybody I knew, including my banker. And my banker was a patient of Dr. Aaron Katz at
Yeah.
Columbia University. Dr. Aaron Katz was the head of holistic urology. So now I have a call from Dr. Katz himself, who says, I've read this paper from Michael Schachter. Sounds interesting. Would you come to Columbia University? And would you be open to do some research on prostate cancer? That was like, prostate cancer? But that's
Yeah,
what
yeah.
we helped Mitterrand with. And he said, Mitterrand, I don't know. He almost said, I don't know who is Mitterrand, but whoever, we have to start with the mice. And I was like, but the president, now the mice. And yes, that was the way to go. So I realized that the only way to go further was to fund research.
Yeah.
Funding research with Columbia University felt like a royal way to start. And I really scrapped money from everywhere to be able to do it. I have to say that a lot of people who had been helped with the products gave donations and allowed this first study to happen.
Amazing. All these people coming together.
Yes.
What would you, and look, that's a huge milestone for you guys launching that. And what would you say is the achievement that makes you most proud today? Was it that research breakthrough? Was it a successful event, or was it a community milestone maybe?
I would say it is the advancement of the research. As I told you, we have been able to go beyond what my
Yeah.
father did because, I mean, it's new research,
Modern
new
technologies.
machines, new opportunities. And there is something that researchers are very much speaking about now, but we're not at all at the time of my father, is cancer stem cells.
Yeah.
Cancer stem cells are thought to be responsible for cancer metastasis and relapse. They are embryonic cells, cancerous, which are part of the tumor, but are able to resist chemotherapy. So the doctor says, oh, you are doing well, the tumor is shrinking, everything is well. But in fact, the doctor is destroying those cells which are mature and least aggressive. And the embryonic one have the ability to stay in the body for a long time. And will eventually travel with the blood and go somewhere else and grow, multiply, and create a new tumor somewhere else. From day one of diagnosis, I think it is very, very important to address cancer stem cells.
Yeah.
But nobody speaks about it because there is nobody officially that is able to destroy those cells. So because we had so much good results with the Paupera and the Revolvia extracts on different kind of cancer, different stages of cancer from inflammation to advanced cancer, which does not respond to hormonal treatment anymore, we said, why aren't we trying cancer stem cells? And we tried with pancreatic cancer stem cells. This research was done at Kansas University Medical Center, and it seems like magic. They all disappear. So we went on study on ovarian cancer stem cells, and again, they all disappear. So we went on to study on mice in vivo. Every time, it's a new step and more money. But
Yeah. Cool.
it's in vivo animals, the mice taking the Paupera in liquid with some green tea, special green tea, everything disappeared. So we last funded a big research program on breast cancer stem cells. It's important to know because breast cancer is a type of cancer killing the most, women. And 1 out of 6 women will relapse of cancer in 5 years. So we did this research, and you have a control group of mice which have been injected with very nasty metastatic human breast cancer cells, and they develop metastasis like crazy. And on the other hand, you have those mice which have also been injected with the same nasty breast cancer stem cells, but also receive the Paupera, the Revolvia, and the tea, and no metastasis. So
Amazing.
the publication is coming out
This is
this year.
recent as well. This is very
And we
recent.
are already looking to fund research on prostate cancer stem cells.
Okay, that's incredible. So this is very recent. Yeah, this is awesome. And it was all done in the University of Kansas.
Yes, that is done with Kansas. Yes, so there is a very good team. We have been working with them for a long time, and it needs something very precise, very good people to be able to work with cancer stem cells.
Amazing. And you said that each piece of research kind of needs the next level of funding, which kind of leads me into my next question. What has been your toughest lesson in building a not-for-profit driven by science, awareness and donation?
It's very difficult to spend money. It's more difficult to fundraise, even
Yeah.
for a good cause. I have to say that a lot of people have been extremely generous. Especially people who have been helped with those products and have been able to overcome cancer. Some of them have done very generous donations that has helped us for many years. With the years passing, we had sometimes less donations. So we moved to the opportunity to have events and fundraise around events, which at the same time create awareness, present the foundation to the world, and also our kind of fundraising galas and things like that.
Okay.
We are going to have our third conference. We had a big conference, like a 3-day conference, which
I've
is
heard good
rich,
things.
show everything. And I take also the opportunity to create kind of community of integrative health thinkers and doctors, and give them the opportunity to speak of other topics which are dear to their heart, as long as they are also around cancer. And we create like that very meaningful events and a community within the integrative world.
Okay. So that's how, from our last discussion, I can remember that's how you're sort of structured today. The events piece, research, education being your 3 key pillars. And then there's also this final pillar of outreach to people so they can learn about the foundation.
Absolutely.
So what would you say are the main revenue streams? Is it direct donations, events, those larger partnerships or grants?
So for a long time, it was donations. And now I would say it is events and donations at the same time, more or less at the same level.
Cool. And how many people have you got working within the team?
But 50.
Okay. And how are you separating this up at the moment? You probably have people that look after the donor database, newsletter, logistics. You probably have marketing. How are you organizing the team at the moment?
Well, everybody has to do several things. Yes, we have newsletters. I just came back from a trip where I
Yeah.
was touring hotels for the next conference. I got a cold over there, but that's life. And on the way back, I gave also a presentation. I was invited to speak at the trade show, and we try to do it as much as we can, basically, and then we manage to say yes to as many things as possible. And
Amazing.
we are open to ideas and to all the support we can get.
So within the team, how are you all measuring success internally? Is it donation growth, event attendance, new research, new donor conversions, repeat supporters? What are your main metrics that you're trying to work towards?
All that counts. All
Yeah.
that counts. Obviously, the goal is to be able to fund the next round of research. We can measure success in many ways. And I have to say the awareness is growing. The number of doctors using the products keeps growing, and that has helped us, obviously, to come as far as we have been able to come.
And how do people first hear about the Beljanski Foundation? Did you get most people through media, social partnerships, referral?
Generally, it is by inviting me on a podcast or to an event or to coming to the events that we are organizing. And then I have my book, Winning the War on Cancer, where
Yeah, of
I've told
course.
I have in the book. I mean, the book has the story, and at the end also a number of protocols that were provided by a good friend of my doctor, who was a good friend of my father, and the book is full of anecdotes, souvenirs, and at the same time a lot of scientific information. So it turned into a book that did pretty well and received a number of awards, and it has been selling well, and that has helped a lot with creating awareness, obviously.
Yeah, okay. So I need to get my hands on a copy of the book. I do. So when we're talking about, driving donations, driving bums on seats to your events, what channels or campaigns have proven to be most effective for awareness of the Beljanski Foundation? And where do you feel there's potentially anything untapped?
Well, we are not good at it. I think the foundation, the events, the conferences, the gala dinner has been the best, where we have had the most success. Every newsletter we are having a call for donation, a call
Yeah.
for action. It is not, especially in the States, it has not led to too much.
So you want to have a call that leads to a donation, essentially, or a call that leads to someone coming to an event.
That's where people are becoming the more generous because they hear exactly what we are doing. They get excited about the next program, and that's where they want to be part of it. But I have to say that newsletters and the other channels, the emails, it has not worked that well for us so far. Maybe because we are not good at it, I don't know.
Okay. Well, this is potentially where strategic AI can help, but that's a conversation we can have another time. I'd rather learn more about your business. What do you think out of the full Beljanski story? Because it's a story from start to finish. With your father, the doctor, his discoveries to all the new discoveries you're doing today. Which part of the message do you think resonates the best with donors and potential donors?
I think people are moved by the eagerness of the government to destroy knowledge, destroy information that can save their lives, that resonates with people, that creates a feeling of
Yeah,
anger and a willingness to be part of the resistance, I would say.
part of the resistance. That's a great way to look at it. And this is probably one of the reasons why it's led me here today. I think I may have mentioned in podcasts before that I lost my father to cancer. Too was worked in a similar line of work to myself. And what's kept me so gripped by your story is that the fact that there's more research out there that we can go after, more research that people can donate to, more biological research, most importantly. So yeah, that's why I'm fully here today. I'm fully supporting your mission, Sylvie. So
Thank you.
I've got a few more questions before we wrap up, and I just want to look at the future of the Beljanski Foundation. What does the next 3 to 5 years look like for you, do you think?
You know, the story I told you was 30 years ago. Now I am, let's say, at the end of my professional life. So most of my efforts are about creating awareness as much as possible and passing the knowledge to a new generation. I have very good people who understand what we are doing scientifically, are able to manufacture the products without my help, and who understand the importance of what we are doing. So I hope that this is going to be able to be passed to a new generation again.
And I'd love to see that happen and help that happen, essentially. Are you planning to expand in any particular areas, maybe like event frequency? Are you planning to expand your outreach or maybe any other digital fundraising initiatives?
So I am doing as much events as I can because I'm focused on this passing of the knowledge. So yes, I have my own podcast now, the Beljanski Cancer Talk Show. We started this, big events, 3 days conferences. The next one should be held in June 26th in California. Last year was in Austin, Texas, and then before that it was in Jacksonville, Florida. So we try to move around
Yeah,
and
yeah.
create awareness everywhere we go. And on top of that, yes, I am doing a number of virtual events as much as I can, actually.
Okay. Don't wear yourself out too much. Sounds like that's quite a lot. And my last big question is your North Star sort of metric for next year? Is it number of donations? Is it total raised, lives impacted, or your community size?
I have no North Star, sorry. I'm doing my best every day, and I can go to bed with a feeling of accomplished as much as I could. So that's good enough.
And Sylvie, I'm fully behind that, and I think you've done more than enough. And I'd love to see the work that you're continuing to do. I've been a real pleasure having you on the show. Really enjoyed talking with you. It's such a topic that's close to my own heart. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much for the opportunity to speak about that. I am sorry for your loss, and I hope we can save as many dads as possible
Of
around
course.
how difficult it is to lose your dad to cancer.
Cool. So in the bottom of the chat, you will see bottom of the YouTube subscription, you'll see a link for Sylvie's Beljanski Foundation. Please do click on and learn more. Thank you very much. And that's seen.